What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Command and Console. My name is Jason. Today I've picked out 5 titles that I consider to be the best games in my collection at the moment for PS2. There's going to be big hitters I don't have, obviously. I don't have the Metal Gear Solid games yet. I don't have Silent Hill 2 yet. That'll probably be top billing if I did have it in the collection. It's one of my favourite games on the machine. I do have like Grand Theft Auto games, but I'm not the biggest fan of those games to the point where I love them for them to be on the best of lists. I understand there's massive fans of those games, but for me, they're not up there for me where I get the most enjoyment from them. But these are my 5. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So the first pick is going to be, in my opinion, the best fighting game from the 6th generation, Soul Calibur 2. This game is the full package for me when it concerns fighting games. I absolutely adore it. Every character is unique. Every character's got a really fun arcade mode. The weapons master mode is really fun. It's almost like an adventure game within Soul Calibur 2. You unlock new weapons and stuff for the characters. So much fun this game is. The full package. You've got so many different modes. You've got so much unlockables in here. The PS2 version comes with an exclusive fighter, Heihachi Mishima, from the Tekken franchise. I think the Xbox version had Spawn as their exclusive character, and the Nintendo GameCube had the obvious pick, Link from Legend of Zelda, as their exclusive character. Why don't they bring back more of these exclusive characters per console? I think it's a really cool idea to change it up and make your version of your console unique to the other versions out there. So I think that's pretty cool. I think the PS2 was shortchanged a little bit. I think Heihachi Mishima is a bit of a boring exclusive character in my opinion. There's much better characters, even from Tekken, that I would have picked. What can I say? It is what it is, I suppose. But yeah, it's classic artwork to me. That is Soul Calibur 2. The gameplay is the smoothest, most entertaining weapon-based fighting game ever made, in my opinion. This sticker as well, it says 10 out of 10 because it is a 10 out of 10 game for me. Soul Calibur 2 is definitely in my best off list from my PS2 collection as it stands at the moment. Obviously, as I get more for PS2, this best off list may change. That's Soul Calibur 2. Next up might be my favourite FPS game on PS2. And it's just, no one talks about it. It's so underrated. I've spoken about it before when I actually picked this up originally. That game's called Cold Winter. This game is basically a really violent James Bond-esque espionage adventure shooter. Loads of blood and guts. The shooting is so much fun. You got to do like kind of like secret agent stuff in there as well. Really good stuff, man. Like if you like the James Bond games, I think you're gonna love this one because it's more adult and it's just really awesome. Yeah, I love that artwork as well. As soon as I got my PS2 last year, I knew that this is one of the big games on the list that I had to get because it is my favourite first-person shooter on the system. There's other great ones, of course. Unreal Tournament, Half-Life, Black is a big one as well, people mention. But for me, it's always going to be Cold Winter. It's so good. It's such a bombastic shooter as well. Like the ragdoll physics are all over the shop, so you go in with a shotgun, just blow these fucking enemies away. It's just they go flying. It's hilarious. Like this game has such satisfying audio visual feedback when you're actually shooting people. It's so satisfying. But yeah, this is definitely an FPS game in the best of my collection, in my opinion. Like I think it's fantastic. That's Cold Winter. Going from Cold Winter to Cold Fear. Yes, this is the survival horror game pick for me in my collection at the moment. It's solely because I don't have Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 would be definitely a comparable title here. I do have Resident Evil Code Veronica, but for somehow I think I prefer this over that game. Some would argue it's Ubisoft's like downright straight up rip-off of Resident Evil 4, but I think it's got its own charm to it itself. It is a zombie shooter. It is a zombie survival horror, third person, over the shoulder. You're on this ship, so there's like buoyancy mechanics where the ship can go to the side and you can fall, and you've got to like stop yourself from falling overboard. There's cool little environmental mechanics like that, which I think kind of makes it stand apart from other survival horror games. And it's visually violent as well, so it's awesome. And I'll say it, this scared the life out of me when I played this as a kid. It absolutely scared the life out of me. The atmosphere in this is palpable. The visuals on this ship are just so cool. You've got the waves crashing up on the inside of the ship, and you've got like rain coming down. It's the perfect vibe for this kind of survival horror on this tanker ship or whatever it is. But it's so good. I love that artwork as well. This game is creeping up in value, so if you find it for like cheap, I'd grab it. I think CX said it for 20 quid. I got mine for 10 or 12, something like that, from a comic book shop. So they did a pretty good deal for me. But if you can get this for like, I'd say if you can get this for 12 or under, you're on for a winner. Yeah, this is just one of the best survival horror games on the system, in my opinion. In my collection at the moment, it's the best survival horror that I own. That's Cold Fear. Next up, we go from the best survival horror to the best racing game on the system. The best racing game of the generation, in my opinion. And that is Burnout 3 Takedown. I rinsed this game as a kid. I adored it. But I already adored the first two games. The first game is quite quaint by today's standards, by the sequel standards even. It's very basic, it's very simple, but it gives you that concept of what Burnout was. And the sequel was a really big upgrade. Point of Impact was a great sequel. I think it gets overshadowed, unfortunately, by Burnout 3. But I think Point of Impact, Burnout 2 is really, really great as well. Burnout 3 took it to another level, in my opinion. Absolute, just awesome arcade racing. The graphics are amazing. The collision and crash stuff is awesome. And I think the progression of the game is just really satisfying. Having different game modes as you go along and unlock new races, new takedown events, new crash modes. The crash mode was just, I could spend hours on that crash mode. That was so much fun. Burnout 3 is hands down the best racing game ever, maybe, but for the 6th generation, and of course for the PS2 and my collection, it's the best racing game in my opinion. That's Burnout 3. The final game in my pick for best of PS2 in my collection is a series that I absolutely adore. And you know, guys, I spoke about this series ad nauseum at this point. It's Capcom. I want them to remake it because they've been remaking their games lately. I'm talking about Onimusha. I adore this game. I would have picked Onimusha 3, but I don't own that yet. It's been quite a hard one to find in the wild at the moment. I've got Onimusha 2, but I think Onimusha 1 just kind of takes precedent over Onimusha 2. I think it's a better game, personally. But yeah, I love this game. What an awesome concept to take that Resident Evil formula and turn it into a demon slaying samurai game. It's epic, right? It's so cool. I actually adore this game. I've got it remastered on PS4 as well, so I don't tend to play the PS2 version. If I want to go and experience what the OG was like, I might chuck it on and give it a play. But I just own it because I want this series physically and kind of preserved in my collection. But Onimusha Warlords, the first game, is just so much fun. The combat is satisfying. The upgrades make you feel powerful and unbeatable. And it's just satisfying. The combat is fun. Like, who thought they could take the tank control aspects and the kind of presentation aspects of Resident Evil and take that formula and just throw in melee combat, which is actually really fun to use, and this feudal Japan and like this demonic storyline, and you'd be fighting these demons and shit. It's really good. It's so good, in fact. It's one of my favourite games on the console. It's one of the best games in my collection, hence this video. But yeah, I thought I'd showcase Onimusha in this one. Absolutely fantastic game. I might argue it might be the best of the bunch in this stack today. I want to play it right now, just talking about it. I love this game. That's Onimusha. So those are just 5 picks out of my collection that I actually consider to be the best in my collection for PS2 at the moment. Obviously, I can do a part 2 to this and do a new list when I get new games in the collection, because there are, like I said, there are games that are missing from my collection that I do want to own, like the Metal Gear Solid games. Silent Hill 2 is a big one. Yeah, there's loads of games. Onimusha 3, like I said, would be a massive tippy top PS2 game for me. But these ones at the moment currently are, in my opinion, the best games in my PS2 collection. Let me know what you think of those games in the comments down below, and let me know what your favourite games that you own in your collections are. I would love to read the comments down below. As always, guys, let's continue to build a PS2 collection.